Welcome to today's satsang. Today's topic is based on Sid's recommendation, but I have been getting similar requests and similar anxiety and existential dread from many others regarding AI. So, the disturbing thing about the AI revolution which has arrived is that when this AI revolution was portrayed in movies years back, it was portrayed as if the AI will rise up and attack humanity. But the disturbing bit it when it arrived, it didn't attack us. It started imitating us. And that's the disturbing part. The AI writes like you. It designs like you. It codes like you. And it does it at a speed that is way faster than what humans can do. And this is a new type of anxiety. In fact, the University of Florida has come up with a new clinical framework, and that's very recent in 2026. And they call it AIRD, AI replacement dysfunction. So that's a clinical name for this dread, anxiety, stress, which AI is causing. So AIRD, AI replacement dysfunction, describes a constellation of symptoms which arise not from actual job loss, but from the persistent threat of it. And the symptoms include anxiety, insomnia, paranoia, loss of professional identity, worthlessness, hopelessness, anger, resentment. Another interesting thing which has been already established in psychology is chronic anticipation of a catastrophe damages mental health as severely as the catastrophe itself. So human brain and mind is not designed to continuously live in a state of uncertainty and impending catastrophes. So that anticipation of the future, of something really awful happening in the future, can severely damage mental health. And did AI create this crisis? Or was there something else in us which is being revealed by AI? So, on the surface, of course, there is a constant apprehension of what the world will look in the next few years, what my job will be. But the deeper layer of that anxiety is if what I do can be replicated, what am I? Am I more than what I do? What is my value? Will I become irrelevant if I'm replaced? And that is the question AI has handed out to humanity now. And I think it is a very spiritual question. This AI terror, and nobody in the spiritual or productivity space is talking about it. This AI terror and fear is pointing somewhere very important. So, as I said, this anxiety that we feel about AI, it's a revelation of something deeper. And that is, we have built our own identities on what we do, your value in your own private mind is measured by your output or by your usefulness. If you see people as they get older, though they have economic stability and they have financial security, but they feel they're not useful anymore. So there are two measures here: measures of your output and measures of your usefulness. And these measures were handed out to everyone since we were a child. It was handed out in a school report card, it was handed out in job titles. Whenever we produced more, we were more efficient. We were always rewarded and praised. So the market rewarded your specific skill set, and you traded time for money, and you traded mind for meaning. But now that entire functional self, I call it the functional self because it does a particular function in the world, that particular functional identity is under threat. And this threat, this is is very different than what our brain evolved to handle. If you see our nervous system, it's not built for this rapid speed, this accelerating speed of AI development. The brain evolved to track predators, to track physical threats. These threats could be named, you could plan for it, you could fight, you could run. But AI, it doesn't threaten you directly. So AI, it doesn't threaten you in that sense. It's not a physical direct threat. It renders you irrelevant. It just removes categories of human jobs completely. And the nervous system is not meant or it's not created to handle that kind of threat. So anxiety is fight or flight, and there is where will you fight and what will you fly from? You can't fight this revolution. You cannot run from it either. So this energy turns inward, and that's what creates this massive spike of existential dread, which millions of people are going through right now. It is not only spiritual people. I think spiritual people are much better placed to handle this threat, at least on a psychological level, because people who are walking the path on some level understand that this self identity, which is built on job, on what I am and how useful I am, is another construct. But millions and millions of people who are being made redundant or whose jobs are at stake might not have access to this teaching. They might not be following the path of becoming more conscious. And for them, their identity, their job, their functional self is all they know. So, of course, they are really, really terrified. And what does spirituality offer in a moment like this? Is it sitting cross legged and thinking pleasant thoughts, or accepting everything passively, accepting the disruption, the job losses with a smile of detachment? No, I'm not pointing at that. That is just spiritual bypassing. What genuine spiritual inquiry into this entire phenomena offers is far more deeper. It questions the premises itself. And the premise is I am what I do. My worth lives in my function. If my function is replaced, I become irrelevant. So, even when you go out and meet other people, the first thing that we ask is, what do you do? What do you work as? And it has become so ingrained, it feels like a question about what you are, what are we? And you'll notice, a lot of your self worth will shift depending on how good you are doing at your job, if you're unemployed, if your business is making a lot of profit or your business is making a lot of loss. Even unconsciously, we measure these things up internally and we might criticize ourselves or feel shame and guilt. But this is how society created us. So, this premise that identity built on function is the actual source of suffering. The AI is just revealing or exposing it. So, the spiritual inquiry is to ask who is here when the job title is removed? What remains when all titles are taken away, the skill is made obsolete, the role is automated? Is this something that cannot be automated, uploaded? And so we come to something which is the very source of your identity, the presence. The machines might take away everything, but your presence is your own. And the spiritual inquiry, since centuries, have been always pointing to this presence. So I'm not saying this anxiety is not real. It is real. The practical disruptions are real. But instead of trying to outrun it or not trying to drown in the anxiety and the fear, can we look at it directly and give it space? So the problems are real, but what is my reaction to that problem? Because if I am psychologically in a place full of turmoil and anxiety, how will I adapt to that challenge? Because now I have two issues. One is adapting to this AI revolution, and second, taking care of fighting or resisting this entire panic and anxiety and stress and hopelessness which arises along with it. So For this, you will have to sit first with the basic question: who am I with if I have none of these things, even if I'm made obsolete? What is my worth? What is my value? And whatever the answer will give you insight into your own yardstick of your identity. For some, the answer would be it doesn't matter. Even I lose everything, I still have this presence, I am. For some, it will be somewhere in the middle, and they'll say, yes, it affects me. I don't know what I'll do. I don't know how I will earn my living. And for some, it will be a terror because that future of being replaced and being irrelevant threatens their very identity. And also, this is the future. It has not happened now. Right now, you're sitting in a room, you are breathing, you're present. The world has not fallen apart. So, this fear is anticipatory. And spirituality, again, has a big lesson for us here is to be in the what is rather than be terrified of a future which might or might not come to pass. So, as we move forward in the coming years, there will be more disruption. But I see there is a gift buried inside this. And it's a very historical moment that we are going through. And there is a gift. And that gift is AI will force humanity to confront this question: what am I really? If AI can do everything that I can do, what am I as a human being? And maybe that is where humanity as a whole might be on a threshold where they will transition into some sort of inquiry, self inquiry, which people on the path has been doing for ages.